Losing to Seattle last night. The Sparks are 7-30 with 3 games left. The WNBA single-season scoring record now belongs to A'ja Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces. Wilson scored 27 points last night in Indiana to pass the previous mark of 939 set by Jewel Lloyd of Seattle. Wilson has 956 points. She needs only 44 to become the first WNBA player to score 1,000 in a season. She's got 4 games to do it. Week 2 of the NFL season kicks off tonight. Buffalo is at Miami. We'll let you know if Tyreek Hill takes an Uber to Hard Rock Stadium. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Tavis is under attack. I can't get his radio station on my transistor. I'm getting the Asian station that he's right around, but they're not letting KBLA 1580 come in. I'm not getting the black man. So let Tavis know he's under attack. Cyber attack, racist attack, fascist attack, but he's under attack. And they doing something to disrupt his radio station so they won't get the truth out to us.
Hey, it's Tavis. We appreciate all that love, let me tell you, because we may very well be under attack on all sides. Just because you don't believe in conspiracy theories don't mean they ain't after you. But in reality, sometimes stuff happens with the signal from the studio to the tower, which sends our programming to your car, home, office, or your transistor radio. But when you download the KBLA 1580 app, the sound is clear as a bell all day, all night, anywhere in the world, from Los Angeles to Lagos. So we love all of our listeners, no matter how you hear us. But when you download the KBLA 1580 app and hear that richness, you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. But don't take my word for it. Download the KBLA 1580 app right now. I'm Tavis Smiley, and I approve this message.
KBLA Talk 1580. Rest in peace, Frankie Beverly. Gone but never forgotten, for sure. Well, I am pleased to welcome into conversation this morning someone who's had many a hat over her years as a community organizer with the Los Angeles Black Workers Center. She served as a project director for the UCLA Labor Center, directing the Center for the Advancement of Racial Equity. She actually was co-founder of the LA Black Workers Center, and she is now the senator representing the 28th District of California. That's Ladera, View Park, Arlington Heights, Arlington Park, Baldwin Hills, Crenshaw, West Adams, and more. Senator Lola Smallwood Cuevas, welcome.
Good morning, Dominique. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for tapping in. It's much appreciated, and I know the KBLA delegation appreciates it as well. We'll start with, I know you're kind of pretty inspired or hyped up by the debate. That interesting, because last time I saw you in person was at the Democratic National Convention, where behind the scenes people were organizing, preparing next steps, and thinking about how we could win the White House.
That's right. And what a masterful debate the vice president delivered, and making her points, sharing her stories, and demonstrating how ready she is to assume the highest office in the land. So very excited about this campaign. We're so very excited to see the first woman of color, and a Californian on her way to the White House. We have a lot of work to do, though, because it isn't falling short on me. All of the headlines that came out the morning after, and though she dominated, though she completely overwhelmed her opponent, you could see that she did not get the unequivocal mantle of winner in that debate. There was a lot of talk about Trump and what Trump didn't do or what Trump did do, and not enough headlines, in my opinion, about how masterful she was in threading the needle to show the American people that she's ready to lead. But we know she is. We're excited, and it's time to get out there, knock on doors, make calls, make sure our families get their ballots in the mail so that we can take this election and move forward.
Yeah, I think I told you at the DNC, if they don't know already, America's about to find out Black women from California do not play.
No, we do not.
Do not play. And I think you're right, because it's not just about Trump didn't just self-emulate. She actually turned in an incredible performance with a rather impressive mastery of facts and policy, which is not that easy with those TV camera lights blaring on you. You may know a lot of things when you're sitting in your room that you don't remember in that moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. She was powerful, and we need her in the White House now more than ever.
Yeah, agreed. And you consider yourself a progressive. Some progressives just don't feel like she is goes far enough to the left, or that her policies are strong enough that they'll rather choose a third party, like Weston Abdullah. As a progressive, what's the calculation there?
I am a progressive, and I also say I'm a Black woman progressive. And one thing I know is Black women, we're realists, and we understand the analysis, and we understand that the alternative is unacceptable. And what it takes to win that office, unfortunately, the kind of lack of campaign finance laws, the amount of resources, time, energy, machine that it takes to win. We can't afford in this race to sit out. We've got to build up our progressive movement. We've got to build alignment in our progressive movements. We've got to stop the fraction and division within our progressive movements and figure out ways to finance our campaigns in a real way where we can be viable. Unfortunately, we're not there yet. And so we are, though, here at a moment where we have a billionaire running for office and his billionaire friends that want to turn this into an aristocracy, an authoritarian government, a dictatorship-led government. And I frankly am not of the opinion that we are ready to let the government completely fall apart in order to rebuild it into a progressive co-governance model that every progressive would feel would be adequate. we're not at that point yet, and our people are suffering, and I'm not willing to see our people suffer more under authoritarian government. And so therefore, just calculating where we are in this moment and where we need to be as progressives, I think Kamala Harris is our only choice. And we know when progressives are divided, the dictators win, and that's what happened in 2016. And we will not see that sequel. We will not see part 2 of a Trump administration, and that's why we've got to do all we can to get behind a leader that we can effectively move and organize around the issues that are important to us. I don't think Trump will be that leader.
I feel like he clearly showed that for anyone that was wavering. But you don't never know why people do the things they do. I know you felt that earthquake just about half an hour ago.
I did, and I received the earthquake warning a couple of minutes, I think, before it actually hit. I'm in the Windsor Hills area, and there was a slight sway in the restroom while I was there in the bathroom, and in a few seconds, and then it was over.
Yeah, my warning system worked for the first time in this series of earthquakes. I was happy to see that. So I actually could have ducked under the desk, but I try to stay on the mic. And of course, speaking of sending seismic shaking throughout our state, the end of the legislative session and the Legislative Black Caucus decision to not give a vote, full floor vote to two reparations bills that a lot of us felt were important, foundational, and sort of help build the infrastructure for the future of reparations, has really sent shockwaves through the reparations community, through the Black community, including folks that usually don't pay attention. And I want to talk about that. I really appreciate you, coming on the air to face the music about that. And so let's start with you just saying what you think happened or how you see the way that went down.
Well, I want to say that this reparations is a movement, right? And the policy is a part of that movement, the policy making process. And this process requires deep analysis about the political moment that is happening in Sacramento in terms of, the nuts and bolts of the budget, in terms of what is the political energy that is in the Capitol. For example, this was unfortunately the most law and order heavy legislative cycle where crime, because of the election, was dominating the energy of the Capitol. And it's a place where 120 legislators from across the state, unfortunately, not progressive or liberal Democratic districts, but very moderate conservative and Republican districts, have to come together and vote on over 2,000 bills. And so in that context, the Legislative Black Caucus, which took the baton from the task force in terms of process, and had to build a process for turning those 200 plus recommendations that were held in that 1,100-page report. We had to turn that into a policy strategy and taking into account the analysis of what I just described in terms of how do you actually move a bill to the governor's desk. And I think the Black Legislative Caucus took this responsibility very seriously. The Black Legislative Caucus, I've only been there for 2 years, but from my understanding, this is not a bill. This is not individual bills. It was decided that we weren't going to move those bills the way that all of our other bills move in the legislature, where one individual moves a bill and is the author of that bill and manages everything about that bill until it gets to the governor's desk or not. Our strategy was to move this together, to have a system for protecting the bills, have a system for making sure not that they passed, but that the implementation was realized. And this required deep cooperation and collaboration. And I, for one, am very proud of the Black Caucus for moving in unity and moving around the commitment to the implementation and adoption of bills. Coming from an organizer, we have to all have the same outcome in order to win. And that means we have to agree to the strategy to have that outcome. And then we have to be able to share that message across that legislative body that has to vote for these bills, and the administration and the leadership of both houses to understand what our strategy is and to move that bill. And that's exactly what happened. And so, in the end, there were 11 bills that we moved. And some of those bills were held. Some of those bills were held in appropriations, which was because they had a fiscal tag that was higher than what our state budget would allow, and there was no funding for those bills because of the $70 billion deficit that we started at this year. Those bills were held. And then there were bills that were moved forward and that are on their way to the governor's desk. And I will, happily share that so you can post that on your website so your listeners will know the state of our efforts and progress. But look, this issue we knew was sacred, and we knew that this opportunity that was made by our community was a multi-year effort and required deep strategy to be able to be not just passed, but something that could be implementable and serve our community and the purposes of reparations. And so, I want to say that the CLBC has laid a strong foundation to build upon. I think what this experience, this dialogue that we are in with our community is showing us we need to address our communications channels. I think we attempted to do that by having State of Black California convenings across California. And I think there have been 3 or today in places like Fresno and San Diego. There was one coming up in Oakland. The others are happening later in the year. So I think we intentionally use that as a process to engage the community on the policy making strategy, because the task force held the recommendation part of the strategy. This is the policy-making side. And therefore, the community needs to understand deeply what that entails and how the caucus is moving that. We have, as I said, from this process, this initial bill package, we have 2 sponsor bills that have been signed into law already. To be more specific, we have 7 that have advanced to the governor's office. And we remain dedicated to working alongside legislative partners and advocates and community toward a shared goal, as we have always emphasized that it took 5 years plus when we think about all of the HR 40 work, so we're talking decades to get the task force recommendations done. We are not going to win the most important, the most significant bills in 6 months. So this is a multi-year strategy, and it requires us to work together. And as I said, we remain committed and are excited to do this important work. We look forward to new leadership coming into the CLBC in January when these elections are open. And we know we are going to work together to address this communications issue, to build solidarity with our community, and to make sure that we are unified, because together we win.
Got to continue this conversation with Senator Lola Smallwood Cuevas when we come forward. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580. Tabitha Smiley's new book, The Covenant with Black America, 20 years later, is now on sale everywhere. This classic text shot to #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list almost 2 decades ago. If you have the original book, you will surely want to get this 20th anniversary edition with powerful new contributions from today's leading voices. This 20th anniversary edition presents a compelling blend of historical insights and contemporary urgency in this critical and unprecedented election year. Get your copy of The Covenant with Black America 20 years later today.
Let's bring the nail gun over here.
Jose stands tall atop his sustainable flooring company.
Totally. It's renewable and moisture resistant, but we have several green options too. Or we got some beautiful reclaimed oak.
But floored by his success, he needs to hire more installers.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
What's wrong?
My travel rewards card didn't earn enough miles for my vacation.
Are you crying? Are you crying because of that other credit card?
Uh-huh.
Well, switch to the Capital One Venture card. Venture lets you redeem miles on any travel purchase.
Really?
Yep, and you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase every single day. The Capital One Venture card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
What's that sound? That's the sound of Downy Unstoppable scent beads going into your washing machine and giving your clothes freshness that lasts all day long. There it is again. It's like music to your ears, or more like music to your nose. That freshness is irresistible. Let's get a Downy Unstoppables bottle shake. And now a sniff solo. Nice. With Downy Unstoppables, you just toss, wash, wow, for all-day freshness.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
We are talking with California State Senator Lola Smallwood Cuevas. She represents the 28th District. She spent 2 decades serving as an educator, labor organizer, and community activist. And, it's hot in the chat. But also, this issue of communication, I think, is tied to not just making us feel good. Folks saw that both of the bills that, are the most controversial in this exchange right now, setting up a bureau and setting up a funding mechanism for reparations. They did pass through appropriations. We were being told that They had the votes on the floor, and I understand, as Assemblymember Isaac Bryan said on this show, that you guys made a choice to stand together in unity as a caucus, and there's power in unity. But for us, the voters, it felt like a betrayal because it did pass appropriations and judicial, which is where we thought, it would be killed. And it felt like if there was communication that needed to happen, it was communication about what is the strategy? Why are you doing this? How are we going to get this done? And it felt like a betrayal because it seemed like a last minute thing. Many of the caucus members are co-sponsors on these bills, even though they weren't part of the original priority package. So we felt like we were going to get this win. And when it didn't happen, it didn't feel good. It felt like our representatives turning their backs on us.
Yeah, and I as an organizer, I'm very clear that there's a difference between impact and intention. And so I want to say that may have been the impact from looking from the outside of the legislative process and the caucus process for passing the reparations bills. And the intention, right? Because the caucus intention was to be able to successfully pass a bill package through our collective analysis, to be able to make sure that the drafting of the bills, the amendments related to the bills, the funding mechanisms connected to the bills, that all.
But the only amendments came from the governor, right? I mean, there were no amendments up until the governor, and then
Well, there are amendments. I mean, there are amendments on bills, and I had bills that got out of appropriations that were held. I had bills that got out of appropriations, went back to a committee, and were held. So there's 1,000 ways to get through the process. It's not a very just simple diagram, right? It's not just a simple, like A goes to B, goes to C, goes to D. A lot of things factor into it. And sometimes you understand them and sometimes you don't. But I can only tell you the part of the process that the caucus was involved in. And I want to say that, many bills faced similar challenges. None were killed outright, but some were held for further review to ensure that they would pass intact, meaning with minimal amendments without altering the intended impact and the implementation of the bill.
We've got news, traffic, and sports right here, so we'll have to continue on the other side. And I guess the real question behind that is, what is the plan to get this done? What is the plan moving forward? It's KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. 6 UN staff members are among nearly 3 dozen dead in the Gaza Strip after a pair of Israeli airstrikes on a school reportedly being used as a shelter for refugees. The victims in Wednesday's attack worked for the UN agency that assists Palestinian refugees displaced by the war against Hamas. Boeing factory workers could soon be going on strike. Some 33,000 Boeing workers will vote today on a new contract, and if they reject it, they could strike as early as tomorrow. The Cleveland Browns' star quarterback is addressing his latest lawsuit. African-American Deshaun Watson's legal team released a statement on Wednesday denying recent allegations of sexual assault. Head coach Kevin Stefanski told the media Watson will start Sunday against the Jaguars. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Bank of America has powerful digital solutions for local and global businesses, so you can make every move matter. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America, N.A., copyright 2024.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers hit 4 home runs in the first inning last night against the Chicago Cubs. Max Muncy, Will Smith, Shohei Ohtani, and Tommy Edman all went deep early to spark the Dodgers to a 10-8 win. The LA Sparks are assured of finishing with the WNBA's worst record this season after losing to Seattle last night. The Sparks are 7-30 with 3 games left. The WNBA single-season scoring record now belongs to Asia Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces. Wilson scored 27 points last night in Indiana to pass the previous mark of 939 set by Jewel Lloyd of Seattle. Wilson has 956 points. She needs only 44 to become the first WNBA player to score 1,000 in a season. She's got 4 games to do it. Week 2 of the NFL season kicks off tonight. Buffalo is at Miami. We'll let you know if Tyreek Hill takes an Uber to Hard Rock Stadium. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh, man. Looks like Bobby needs a ride to the airport again.
Grab the keys.
Who's taking Auntie and her friends to the swap meet?
Grab the keys.
How about we, drop these boxes off at Miss Johnson?
Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, you're all about getting things done. So do it all in a Chevy SUV. From the versatile Equinox and sporty Blazer to the roomy Traverse, our lineup of SUVs will carry you through every adventure. All you have to do is...
grab the keys?
That's how we do. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% APR on all 2024 Silverado 1500, Blazer EV, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Colorado models. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 12.7%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 9/30/24.
So the thing no one tells you about periods is that your flow changes every day, and so should your tampon size. Tampax has 5 absorbencies to match your changing flow. If it's uncomfortable to remove, go down a size. If it leaks, go up a size. And only Tampax has a leak guard braid to help give you up to 100% leak and odor-free protection. All-day comfort and protection for up to 8 hours for under $5 a month. Based on average U.S. consumer usage at manufacturer's suggested price, however, pricing is at the sole discretion of the retailer, excludes 8-count packs.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes we try to fit it all in. Sometimes we don't know what's in store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes 3. So much to love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
It's better over here. If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has an exclusive rate plan just for you. Right now, get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings versus Verizon and AT&T. Plus, you can get one of the latest 5G phones free when you add a line. That's right, a free 5G phone. Experience all this and more on America's largest 5G network. So why wait? At T-Mobile, customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Just go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 or visit your local store to make the switch.
With AutoPay using debit or bank account plus taxes and fees, 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Free phones up to $300 off with 24 monthly bill credits and qualifying new line for well-qualified customers plus tax and $35 device connection charge. Contact us before canceling entire account to continue remaining bill credits. Bill credits end if you pay off device early. See details at T-Mobile.com.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Senator Lola Smallwood Cuevas is my guest, and Senator Smallwood Cuevas, I really thank you for showing up and, spending the hour with us. It's much appreciated. So when we talk about communication, and there's a bunch of questions that I have and questions in the chat, but I think the most important and key question is how, and I know that there were hundreds of recommendations from the task force, at least 100. I know that there were 14 bills that were designated priority. These 2 weren't 2 of them. I'm not sure how that happens because they seem foundational to getting reparations done and having an historical, concrete result from the task force. But that's another question. My question right now is, what is the plan to get it done moving forward? Clearly, it's important to your constituents, whether the caucus, the Unified Caucus, thought those two bills were important or more, priority or not. Clearly, it's important to your constituents. How do you guys plan to get it done?
Well, I want to say that all of these bills and recommendations that have come to us are important. They all reflect reparations and the hard work of the task force. And how we're going to get it done is how we have worked to get them done this year and to build on that. The fight is far from over, right? We have to continue to push our colleagues forward. We have to make sure that we pave the way for escalation. And in organizing, there are different strategies and tactics. You have to escalate to get to the outcome that you want in these policies that help us actually realize reparations. And so we have started this year, and we're adding meat on the bones to building the power, the muscle, and the appetite inside of the Capitol for reparations. Look, people have to know and understand what reparations is. They have got to stand up and vote for it. We've got to make sure the administration is in support and signs it, and we got to make sure that there is funding to make it implementable. And then we have to make sure that the department does what it needs to do to make sure that the outcomes are what we deserve. So this is a long-term process. It's not just introducing the bill.
No, it's not one and done. Sure I mean, I get that. But a lot of us felt like, why not make the governor reject it? Why not make him reject it? Why not flex and show we do have the votes? And when you look at McKinney's, and I know you're not, McKinner, and I know you're not her, but her op-ed in the Sentinel makes it seem like it was really about people being mad at Bradford and infighting, and not really about shoring up the bills or doing a better job or unity within the caucus or educating the general public and the caucus in general. It made it sound like it was infighting within the caucus that prevented us from having these two bills that feel like reparations infrastructure.
Well, I can't speak for that op-ed,
right.
but what I can say is that the caucus is moving bills collectively. We are looking at the drafting of these bills. We are looking because I've been there for 2 years, and there is a science to this, and there are bills that are not going to be implemented in a way that helps us win. So why would we waste time passing bills to be vetoed, to bring back and to fight? Why not do it on the front end and do it right?
So then why wouldn't it have been killed in appropriations?
And to give it the strongest.
Yeah,
you're talking. I think you're missing the point about the content of the bill. It's not about the appropriations. It's about, does the bill describe what the community has laid out in our reparations recommendations, and will it advance reparations? That is the lens that we are using. Certainly, we're looking at all of the different steps that a bill has to go through and all of the politics that we have to fight through as the 12 folks who are committed to reparations, while the rest are just sitting on their hands and really need to be educated and moved to support the bill. We have to make sure that we are beginning with the end in mind. And I can only speak for myself in this particular bill. And there was only one bill, 1403, that was in the reparations package. And I had deep concern about giving a governor's appointment or the agency the ability to shape the details of our eligibility process. I have had the most difficult time getting information out of agencies. I would not want to put that power inside of an agency. That was part of our conversation and debate, and part of my personal concerns and why I thought, we do need to hold that process inside of a community and inside of the control of our community. And then once we have those details that we know will get us the outcomes that we want through implementation, then we move it in a bill. I personally didn't believe we were there. And I wasn't willing to get into, a multi-year fight on one bill that we started not with the end in mind, from my personal opinion. And so, so we are working through not one bill. We are working through the largest civil rights policy opportunity in generations. This is complex, and we need to all be on board with the complexities of this and be in conversation and be in unity and alignment. We are 2 million people in this state. We are a population that has taken so much hit from mass incarceration and homelessness, modern day, to the slavery, the impacts of slavery, which we learned about through the report. We have to pull ourselves together and stand together to really understand ways for us to win a package that advances our community and not just play politics with it. And I absolutely agree with that. And that's why we have to approach this differently. It's not about authors. It's not about one bill. It's not about one group. My family also came from the plantation. This is about us recognizing the work at hand and coming together through a strategy, a collective understood strategy to win. And the one failure was that we did not have the communications inside our community to have that kind of alignment. And that's the alignment we need to win. And so although we know challenges arose, the CLBC is laser focused on advancing bills, refining bills, making them better to meet the needs of Black Californians. And we will continue to advocate for the passage of reparations in unwavering commitment to justice, because our ancestors are counting on all of us to do our absolute best.
But even
and
just
when
even
we don't believe as a group, and if we don't see that as a collective, we absolutely have to stop, refine, and come back and build it in a way that we know it can pass through these governmental steps and get to the implementation that our communities deserve. And I think that is what all of the hurt, which is really what we are feeling, this hurt that is coming our way, we have to solve and heal from it by learning.
But listening to your analysis right there,
we're going to have to do this right.
It sounds like you don't support the concept of a bureau, because you said you have trouble getting information from bureaus and that they're controlled by the government. But the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the original Freedmen Affairs Bureau,
No, I don't have a problem. Well, let me just say this. I support there has to be an entity within our government to manage this process.
Okay.
I absolutely agree. But I don't know if you had a chance to read the bill.
Yeah.
But if you read the bill, because you also have to read the details.
Mm-hmm.
The devil is in the details. So it's not just putting a sign on the door. We've got to make sure we're doing this in a way that it can be as bulletproof as possible.
I understand that. I think that's fair. But the thing about it is people pass bills and then tweak them all the time. And these are not just any bills. I mean, these feel like monumental, historic, important pieces of, building blocks of reparations. Of course, you don't want to screw it up. But
of course, I don't want that, because then the issue is this bill is passed and nothing's happened because the bill was not strong enough from the beginning.
So there's
either where. So I just want to say, like, there is frustration. Right, because we are moving this now through the thorny process of government. and there's going to be frustrations. And no one knows how thorny this is more than the Legislative Black Caucus, because before reparations, I can tell you in my 2 years, it's not a cut and dry. It is very complex in how you write the bill, what the bill says, how it operates through the process, and then how it gets implemented. And those are some details that I believe we can do a better job on the front end. But what I will say, we are continuing to be unified. This was a battle, but we are in no way conceding the war. And war being declared on us is a strategy. But at the end of the day, we have to continue to work collaboratively and together to make sure that we are resolving these issues, that we are doing our absolute best as a caucus to represent our communities in these bills in a collaborative way, and to cooperate with one another to prioritize the bills and to refine them as much as we can through the process as they move forward together, because we've got to restore Black California. And we know that by restoring Black California, we are going to restore all Californians. So this is an incredibly important fight. And I just want you to know that the caucus understands and has undertaken this campaign collectively and is going to work collectively to the best of our ability for the good of our community. The one challenge we have to fix is the communication with our community. And I think that if we can not shout and we can talk and we can listen, because this is multi-year and the world is watching us.
Yeah.
We know that DC is watching us with HR 40. We know international on the continent, they're watching us. And so how we do this together is going to be critically important. And yes, I'm an elected official now. I used to be on the outside. Now I'm here. And I understand and I hear exactly where the community is coming from. Can we do it in a way of dignity for Blackness and Black people? Can we do it in a way where we aren't mimicking the destructive white supremacist models of attack that I have seen while in the Capitol from these very anti-Black organizations that attack, and don't engage in constructive solutions? I think we can do that better. We can communicate our anger and our frustration, but we don't have to adopt tactics that aren't about solutions and that mirror some of our very, very sick white brothers and sisters, where we're calling for physical harm, when we're calling for physical harm on our community.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're talking about what's going on online and people supposedly being doxxed and whatnot. I know that CJEC has denied being involved with that, and I know that the reparations community that gathered in Leimert Park at the Center for Black Power, and again on Sunday and last week on Thursday, is denouncing that as well, that violence and attacking of electeds with physical violence. But one of the things that people are talking about, which I think needs to be addressed, is the issue of the $12 million. There is, there is conversation that this was part of the reason for these bills being tanked, and that it's being reallocated to Black Freedom Fund or other projects that are not directly linked to the reparations bills and the reparations package.
Well, there was $12 million committed to reparations implementation, and we are still in the process of that. There are still trailer budgets; those decisions are still being made. We are steadfast in ensuring that the funds that the caucus was able to win stay attributed and earmarked for reparations. But, you know, as we look at all of
So
the
you're
bills
saying that
are
hasn't been
going
decided
through-
yet? That's still an open question?
Well, we're still the budget, the fight to make sure that the money does not disappear because we are in a budget crisis. And so we know that money is being clawed back all over to help fill gaps. But we know that reparations is a commitment, and we will ensure to fight to make sure that those commitments are held and banked so that we can do the work of reparations and its implementation adequately and appropriately that meets the needs that our communities deserve. So that money has been earmarked. That money has not been allocated, to answer your question. And so that is our fight now, is to make sure that we maintain those dollars to implement reparations in the way that we know it deserves.
So, but what does that mean specifically?
What it means is the community needs to focus on making sure that we keep those dollars. That's what it means. It means making sure that those dollars that have been attributed to reparations stay with reparations, and that we can use those dollars to implement reparations moving forward. That's what that means.
We're talking with Senator Lola Smallwood Cuevas, and we'll continue the conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Hi, this is Councilman Curran Price, inviting you to be part of our city's legendary musical history at the 29th Annual Central Avenue Jazz Festival on September the 21st from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. For decades, the Central Avenue Jazz Festival has honored this historic corridor's unparalleled contribution to jazz. Enjoy a day filled with jazz, blues, and Latin jazz across 3 stages, featuring performances by Chief Ajua, the John Beasley Big Band, and Las Chicas. Indulge in a variety of delicious foods from barbecue to Asian fusion, and explore from a unique mix of vendors and more. The festival is free to attend, and it takes place on Central Avenue between King Boulevard and Vernon Avenue. Parking is limited, so Metro and rideshare are recommended. For more information, visit centralavejazzfest.com. That's centralavejazzfest.com. See you on the 21st.
The LA Civil Rights Department and its Reparations Advisory Commission want to hear your reparations ideas. Join them at one of 3 working groups on September 10th, 12th, and 14th. Space is limited. To register, call 213-978-1845 or email lacr@reparations@lacity.org today. That's LACR-reparations with an S at lacity.com. Be part of this monumental movement.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties: classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GPL.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
And we're talking with Senator Lola Smallwood Cuevas. And as I said before, I appreciate you showing up and spending the hour with us. I think it's important, speaking of communications, for all of us to not say we've done nothing. Some significant bills have passed. We, with AB 3089 and ACR 135, we get apologies. With SB 1050, we, get help in restoring property that was seized through race-based use of eminent domain, and so on. We know that Proposition 6 comes out of this reparative process, which would ban slavery in the state of California in prison, so we have to vote yes on Prop 6. All of that is important, and I think it is important when we say the world is watching that we make sure we don't give the impression that we have accomplished nothing with our task force. That said, I feel like the Legislative Black Caucus's decision not to pass a Freedmen's Bureau and a funding mechanism, that feels like a betrayal, and it seems to open the door for conservatives, for Republicans, to pretend like they support reparations, even if they don't, for folks who want to have a conservative agenda to have a way in. How can the Legislative Black Caucus restore trust? How can you counteract that? Is there any regrets? Is there any plan for overcoming what appears to be a window of opportunity for anti-Blackness?
Well, I want to say the Legislative Black Caucus, like the community, worked very hard on this reparations work. The task force and the caucus worked extremely hard on building a foundation in this very first session for reparations. And as I mentioned, it will be a multi-year approach. So I don't think betrayal is, you have the absolute right to call it what you really feel, because that is your feeling.
But it's not just me. I'm getting that feedback from the community too.
And what I would say is it is not betrayal. This work is about outcomes. It's not about just checking a box. And so what I would say is it's a strategy for making sure that we are moving bills in a way that helps our community get closer to what we want. So, I think that the one thing we have to learn from this process is the communication.
Got it. I'm sorry, we have to leave it there because it's time for Tavis Smiley's show. Our door is open to you anytime, Senator Lola Smallwood Cuevas, and we appreciate the conversation.
Take care.
Tavis Smiley is right now.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.